This video is brought to you by the Deck of Many and Humblewood.net. Hello and welcome back to the Gallant Goblin. I'm Theo and today we have the next D&D special edition to show you. This is the Platinum edition of Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus that was kindly provided to us by Beadle and Grimm. This is the third special edition they've released after the Platinum edition of Waterdeep Dragon Heist and the sinister Silver edition of Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Let's jump right in and take a look and see what's inside. Outside of the main box, we have a poster tube full of paper and fabric maps, and we have the special edition War Machine by WizKids. Inside the box, we have a content guide, the full Descent into Avernus adventure separated into booklets, 2 custom DM screens, a very cool terrain toolkit that allows you to customize your Avernus battle map, several player handouts, custom jewelry and artifacts, several War Machine rule sheets and stat blocks, more of their patented D&D encounter cards, 4 bonus encounters with custom art, 5 pre-generated characters for your players to use or for the DM to use as NPCs, a sheet of redcap taunts, Adventures League certificates, official Gale Force 9 Beadle and Grimm unpainted minis, art from the adventure separated onto different sheets, and your own plushie Lulu to cuddle up with at night to keep you safe during any infernal dreams you might have. Also included in your purchase are 2 digital items that are emailed to you. The unlocked version of the campaign on D&D Beyond, and a sound experience from Syrinscape. Let's start with the book itself. As usual, the full adventure is supplied so you don't have to go and purchase the adventure book separately. They divide the book into smaller, more manageable booklets so you don't necessarily have to carry around the entire adventure if you just need a certain section at a time. This time, the book is divided mostly by chapter, with separate books for Chapter 1, A Tale of Two Cities, Chapter 2, El Terrell Has Fallen, Chapter 3, Avernus, Chapter 4, Sword of Zariel, and Chapter 5, Escape from Avernus, and the Baldur's Gate Gazetteer, and finally, the Appendices, which includes rules on infernal contracts, war machines, and magical items, monsters, concept art, and more. As always, they are unable to alter or add any text to the actual adventure, which is why the bonus encounters are on their own sheets of paper and there aren't any annotations to tell you when you have supplementary materials to use. So when you're prepping each session, be sure to check the contents guide to see if there are any documents, pictures, hardware, encounters, or other treats to show your players. This edition is the first one to come with 2 custom DM screens. Both are oriented vertically, providing a taller rather than wider screen. First, we have a DM screen for running adventures in Baldur's Gate. On the player side, we have a piece of art from the appendix of the Descent into Avernus adventure, flanked by 2 pieces of pre-existing D&D art. On the GM side, the first panel provides the name, pronunciation, and description of important NPCs in town, a random encounter table of monsters around the city, and a summary of 3 encounters your players may have in Baldur's Gate after they've completed the Dungeon of the Dead 3 in Chapter 1. The middle panels give you the map of the city and all of the important locations labeled, of which there are a lot. There are also more random tables for things that may happen in the upper, lower, and outer cities to make your players never get too comfortable. Finally, on the right half of the screen, you have a description of each of the important landmarks on the map, including useful icons if you need to quickly find a place for food and lodging, arms and equipment, or temples and hospitals. The second screen provides what you need to run an adventure in Avernus. As is tradition with Beadle and Grimm, the player side features a custom piece of art depicting the pre-generated characters provided in the box. This one also features the custom Infernal War Machine included in the set. This artwork was done by artist Siddharth Chaturvedi, apologies for my pronunciation, who also did the art for the DM screen in the Sinister Silver edition of Saltmarsh. On the Game Master side, the leftmost screen again provides a list of important Avernus characters and the pronunciation guide. The next screen provides the Infernal Hierarchy and a list to roll on if your players have an Infernal Machine mishap. It also lets you know the DC and skill check required to fix each mishap. Next is a D20 roll table to determine any complications that may occur during a chase through Avernus, such as driving directly into a herd of lemures. Yeah, we've all been there. The next table lays out what happens if you become exposed to demon ichor and fail your Constitution saving throw. Perhaps your ears tear free from your head and scurry away, or your arms become tentacles with fingers on the ends, or you just balloon up to triple your weight. It's basically the same thing that happens to me the day after eating at Panda Express. Next, we have uses for soul coins, rules for navigating and getting lost in Avernus, and some optional rules that make life in Avernus a little more difficult and interesting. Finally, the last panel outlines our usual D&D conditions like exhaustion, restrained, and charmed. These are all tables that are pulled from the various chapters in the Descent into Avernus adventure, so that they'll be more readily available at your fingertips, or tentacle tips if you've recently been exposed to Demon Ichor or Orange Chicken. Let's take a look at the multitude of maps included in this set. One of the best new features of the set is that the maps come inside this poster tube for safe storage. First, we have a canvas map of Baldur's Gate, which is obviously useful for this campaign, but which you can also use for future campaigns as well. This one comes from the appendix of the adventure, the Baldur's Gate Gazetteer, and also features dozens of points of interest, all of which are detailed in the Gazetteer. The same map is included on the Baldur's Gate DM screen. This map measures 21 by 14 inches. Next, we have our map of El Turel, which is 30 by 21 inches. Now, this map was also included in the regular adventure book. While the maps are about the same size, the one in the Platinum set is on much nicer quality, more silken paper, and obviously doesn't include the creases inherent in the folded up book version. The map from the book was double-sided with the map of Avernus on the back, but the Platinum set separates the two, so you can hang both of them up on your wall. Nothing here. The Avernus map is also the same one featured in the adventure book, but this map is on canvas and will look great hanging on the game room wall. The map of Avernus is a few tenths of an inch less wide than the El Turel map, coming in around 29.7 by 21 inches. These don't appear to be standard poster sizes, but you can buy ready-made frames that are 21 by 30 at a few online stores if you're wanting to frame these. Of course, you can also put a mat behind them to use a larger sized frame. Next, we have our gridded battle maps. These maps are all 30 by 24 inches and printed on nice quality paper. This is Elf Song Tavern, an encounter in Chapter 1. Most of these battle maps are illustrated versions of the more utilitarian and monochrome dice and logos maps included in the adventure book. On the back of this map, we have sections of Van Thimpor Villa and Under the Villa, also from Chapter 1. The top portion of this map represents the second story of the villa, where most of the encounters in the villa take place. The bottom left portion of this poster features areas V32 and V33, the cultist sleeping quarters and the hallway leading to it. You also have sections of the sewer tunnels, which encircle the area, and where characters may encounter roaming monsters. The bottom right of this map primarily shows areas V26, the Temple of Zariel, where a large combat encounter will likely occur. 2 secret doors exist in this room, leading to other areas of the dungeon, all of which are not shown on this map, so be sure to refer to the DM's version of the map included in the adventure. Also note that the box text appears to be slightly incorrect for this room in the official adventure. There are 10 tapestries on the walls here, not 9. Our next map features the Graveyard Chapel, an encounter area in Chapter 2. This map doesn't include reference numbers for the various rooms, but with only 6 areas, it's not hard to keep track. And this map includes all areas in the original Dice and Logos map from the book, with many more artistic details like the shattered stained glass windows on the floor. The opposite side of the poster map includes a portion of the areas beneath the Graveyard Chapel, which you can see on the bottom half here. It's labeled as the Graveyard Workshop, though that's technically another room in this dungeon, not represented on this map. This map shows the Vault of Ascendance, where an important encounter takes place. It's possible that the map makers wanted to use a more benign name since it would be visible to the players, so as not to give any information to the characters that the characters wouldn't have. The original map shows a secret door leading to that hallway on the left side of the vault, but this passage is open on this map. It doesn't seem to matter since the secret door isn't actually mentioned in the adventure to my eyes, and the corridor is collapsed and impassable anyway. The top half of this map is a section of the Hellrider's Crypt from Chapter 3. Specifically, we have the lower left section of the original map featuring sections C2, C3, and C4. A secret door leading to section C6 is not included on this map, so be sure to check the DM's version when playing to make sure you're ready. The characters will likely encounter some undead creatures on this map. This is Hell Wasp Nest from Chapter 3. This map features levels 2, 3, and 4 of the 4-section nest. Level 1 isn't included, but if the characters don't make too much of a racket, they won't have any encounters on that entrance level. On the back is the Bone Brambles from Chapter 3. The Bone Brambles is a corrupted Feywild forest maze that was wrenched into Avernus and is now the home of a night hag. Only one entrance to the brambles actually allows passage to the center, so you'll have to cover up this map carefully as your players explore the maze. The book also allows a survival check to find their way through the maze, though that seems to be more useful if you don't have a map like this to allow for proper exploration. Our last map, battle map, has the wrecked flying fortress on one side. This map is also from Chapter 3. This map has a little bit cut off of each side here. On the right, we're missing area W5, but no combat encounters occur in this room. This is another gorgeous map that includes so much more detail and atmosphere than the map included in the book. On the other side is the Scab from Chapter 4. This one is interesting. The map in the book provides only a side view of the area. This map gives you a top-down view of certain rooms, namely S11, S13, and S14. It's a bit hard, at least for me, to see how the positions of the rooms relate to each other from one map to the other, but that's not a major problem if you're mainly using this map for encounters. The exploration will mostly be using Theater of the Mind. Major encounters do occur in these rooms, with area S14 being the climax of this particular dungeon. This map of Idleglen is quite different from the others. It's single-sided, lacks a grid, and seems more suited for displaying on your wall than the other maps, but it'll certainly work as a battle map. The encounters in Idleglen are more dreamlike in nature, so the more artistic style of the map works well. This map includes all the areas of the original map and features many of the buildings and features ablaze, which is the state of the town when the characters arrive. In the contents guide, this map is actually included in the list of player handouts rather than maps. Finally, the Dungeon of the Dead 3 from Chapter 1 is represented with these 4 9x12-inch double-sided tiles. The original map features 33 distinct areas in the dungeon and the bathhouse above it. The tiles aren't designed necessarily to form a larger map, but represent important areas within the dungeon. First, we have Area D1, the courtyard, and most of Area D2, the baths. Unless the characters arrive after midnight, they aren't likely to have a combat encounter here. Next, we have a tile with areas D8, D9, D10, and D11, which lie close to the entrance of the dungeon. The bodies there are actually 3 necromites playing dead and ready to ambush unsuspecting intruders. The next tile can actually be situated to the right of the previous tile, as it leads directly into the next area, D12, Bane's Altar, where another combat encounter will occur. And we also have a tile for D13, the Morgue, which is situated right under the tile for room D10, so these 3 do go together. Our next tile numerically is the Crypts, which includes areas D19 through D21. Some of these crypts may contain some restless undead. Then is D25 and D26, Bane's Rest and Ball's Rest, respectively. Finally, we have 2 tiles that can be placed next to each other, representing D27, 28, and 29. It is D29 where the characters stumble upon a bloody fight already in progress. These tiles present a convenient way to have just the specific sections of a larger dungeon ready to put down on the table when an encounter occurs, rather than having the players move their characters around on a giant gridded map while you try to cover and uncover certain sections as if you're playing a really fiddly board game. I would love to see more map packs like this offered for adventures like Dungeon of the Mad Mage, though I know we'd need a ton of tiles for that particular campaign. Wrapping up our battle maps is this terrain toolkit, which allows you to customize your own Avernus battle map to suit whatever encounters your party may stumble upon in their adventure. First, we have this coded 30-inch by 24-inch double-sided plain map. Then to customize it, we have our toolkit, which features 53 reusable octopus vinyl stickers that you can apply to your map. They'll work on any smooth surface. I tried them out on every type of battle map I have, and they all work just fine on the maps included in the Platinum set, all my Pathfinder flip maps, and even regular pieces of gridded presentation paper that I had drawn on with markers. Once applied, I could move the paper around and pick it up, and the stickers wouldn't fall off. But when I wanted to remove the stickers, they came up without any difficulty. They do obviously stick a little bit better to the more glossy, smooth surfaces than to regular pieces of paper, but they're completely usable on either. The stickers seem to be pretty high quality, so as long as you're not overly rough with them, they should last you a good long time. Let's get into what's always my favorite part of the Beadle and Grimm special editions, the player handouts. Anytime I get to give one of these in-world documents to my players for them to pore over, it always brings an extra level of excitement to the proceedings. First, the maps of Avernus and Idleglen that we discussed earlier are considered in-world documents. The map of Avernus is actually presented to the characters toward the end of Chapter 1 by Silvira. In the game, the map actually speaks to the characters in the cartographer's mad voice when they arrive at certain labeled locations. These locations have a quotation from the cartographer after their respective headings in the adventure book, so don't forget to have the map utter the quotation when they arrive at those places. I think the map of Idleglen can be used as a standard battle map if you choose to do so, since an extended battle will likely take place there. Though since it isn't gridded, you'll either have to estimate distances or provide a clear gridded overlay of your own. Otherwise, you can just let your players see the map while you do Theater of the Mind combat. Next, we have the comprehensive thesis on the nature of the Infernal, which the players can find if they search the library in Candlekeep for more information on Hell before they set out on their adventure. The adventure book does not include the information contained in this guide. It simply directs you to the information provided about the 9 Hells contained in the Dungeon Master's Guide, should the characters choose to do some research. The information contained in this document actually comes from a variety of sources. There's information about the Blood War and the River Styx from Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, and about the Devils from the Monster Manual. And on the back, you have a map of the 9 layers of hell. This is a great document to hand out in lieu of flipping through a bunch of books to provide tidbits of information for the characters when they're conducting their research. And there's also a special little detail about this document, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Next, we have the Creed Resolute. The first page of the Tome of the Creed Resolute outlines the oath that citizens of the nation of Eldergard take upon coming of age, swearing to protect their nation from the forces of darkness. The characters will likely find the tome in Chapter 2 and learn a dark secret about it. Let's take a look at the custom jewelry and artifacts developed with Han Cholo. First is the Flaming Fist badge the players receive at the very beginning of the adventure as they're deputized into this ragtag militia in the city of Baldur's Gate. And this is the Baldur's Gate brooch, based on the Baldur's Gate coat of arms as presented in the Gazetteer at the end of the adventure. It's not an item that technically exists in the game, but it's not hard to incorporate into the adventure as worn by important government officials in Baldur's Gate. Be aware that the clothespin-like clasp on the back of this is a little delicate, so handle it with care. Next is one of the coolest items in the set, the Infernal Contract that's hidden in the Infernal Puzzle box in Chapter 1. It features a truncated version of the contract that's outlined in the adventure. You can let your players decipher it using the Infernal language guide provided in the adventure book, but here's what it says when you translate the one on the actual artifact here. I, Fabius Krieg, have sworn my soul to Zariel, Lord of Avernus. As High Overseer of El Terrell, All lands and citizens under the light of the Companion are forfeit to Zariel. The Companion will last 50 years, then it will return to Avernus, taking El Terrell and its citizens with it. And this is the Beadle and Grimm's take on the soul coin, which is entombed within the case itself. These coins, which each contain a single mortal soul, have several uses within the adventure, from fueling powerful war machines to granting temporary hit points to creatures who feed on the soul's essence. At the D&D live event back in May 2019, we were able to get a couple of these official D&D soul coins that they produced for that adventure. You can see how much larger the Beadle and Grimm's coin is compared to this one. Finally, we have the Hellrider's badge. The Hellriders are Eltergard's armed forces. They earn their name for once storming through the gates of hell itself to chase down and destroy a herd of devils who are invading their lands. The badge can be introduced in a number of ways. The party should meet up with a Hellrider NPC named Rhea Mantlemorn early in the adventure who will tell them the story of the Hellriders and likely show off her badge. They'll also enter a Hellrider crypt later in the adventure, likely finding such badges strewn about or inside sarcophagi. Finally, one of the pre-generated characters is a Hellrider at the start of the campaign, so she may already have this badge. This is our special edition Infernal War Machine. The original War Machine was offered as the premium figure in the Descent into Avernus Icons of the Realm set of pre-painted minis a few months ago. You can click the eye in the corner of the screen for our full review of that one. This version is largely similar, except for the front piece, which has a unique design featuring a buzzsaw, or a Wheel of Death as they call it, to help when you accidentally run into that passing herd of lemures. The War Machine has 2 removable sections to let you place a few minis inside. It does not have any actual lights or moving pieces, but it's certainly nice to have 2 different versions if you want to have a real chase scene over the burning plains of Avernus. To help fuel your Mad Max chase scenes, the Platinum Edition comes with a few exclusive sheets detailing the capabilities and stats for a number of war machines you're likely to encounter on your adventures. 4 of them, the Demon Grinder, Scavenger, Tormentor, and Devil's Ride, appear in the adventures, and these stat blocks are taken from the appendix. The last one, the Demon Ripper, is a stat block for the mini war machine included in this box, with gruesome stats for the Wheel of Death as well. They also include 3 blank War Machine character sheets that you can use to design or augment your own vehicle, with information on the back for possible weapon stations, armor upgrades, and magical gadgets. Finally, there are 2 double-sided pages of War Machine combat and operations instructions to have at the ready. These sheets are made from a very nice silken paper. I thought they might be compatible with dry or wet erase markers, but they're sadly not, at least in my testing. They also don't erase super cleanly with a regular pencil and eraser, so you may want to make copies of these before marking them up. Another regular feature of the Beadle and Grimm special editions are the custom bonus encounters and the pre-generated characters. These are always a highlight for me. While Saltmarsh included more bare bones encounters like you see on random encounter tables, this set goes back to the Dragon Heist model of providing pretty robust, detailed, and fun encounters, each of which includes bonus art. First, we have Insight Park, which takes place in Elfsong Tavern in Chapter 1. This encounter is centered around the Drawing Tree, a tree in Insight Park famous for occasionally providing cryptic, prophetic scenes rendered in bloody sap along its bark. In this encounter, the player characters are brought before the Drawing Tree and charged with a task chosen from a D6 table. If the PCs complete the given task, they're awarded inspiration in a future battle. As they leave, however, they're also given a glimpse of another event included in the Platinum Edition. They see the visage of a Mind Flayer Arcanist. Next is Let's Forge a Deal, which takes place in Candlekeep. Remember back when we were looking at the in-world documents, and I mentioned that there was something special about the comprehensive thesis on the nature of the Infernal? Let's take a closer look. Let's see. Somewhere in here. Oh yeah, maybe here. You see there's something written in pencil along the margins. It says, Ba-Atrus. Hey there. Yeah. When the characters or players read the name, our friend here appears and offers the characters a deal. If they allow a particular evil event to occur, they can gain a special charm which will allow them to summon some devilish allies to assist them in a time of need. The encounter provides options about how to handle a disagreement over signing the contract and what will happen if the contract is broken. It's a great way to introduce the idea of devils and contracts very early in the adventure. Right, Beatrice? You betcha! Bye-bye! Anyway, our next encounter is Dirge of Souls, which takes place in Chapter 3 when your party is level 7 to level 9. This encounter occurs in Area W4 of the wrecked Flying Fortress and involves rescuing a powerful citizen of Baldur's Gate from a Mind Flayer Arcanist control. This encounter will likely end unresolved as the Mind Flayer has several means of escape, but it can provide a good continuing story hook when and if the characters return to Baldur's Gate at the conclusion of the adventure. Finally, we have the Blood Bowl. This is an epic winner-take-all Infernal War Machine Derby sponsored by Mahadi of the Wandering Emporium. This encounter gives a DM a way of getting the new Demon Ripper mini war machine into the hands of the characters. The booklet gives the details of the 3 other teams, besides the players, who are participating in the derby, and potential ways to add twists to the combat. This set comes with 5 pre-generated level 1 character sheets that your players can use to jump right into the action if they don't necessarily want to create a character of their own. This is especially useful for new players who may struggle to know enough about the universe to create a compelling backstory. These characters also have the benefit of being represented on the player side of the Avernus DM screen, also included in this set. Our first hero is Exa Quest, a tiefling warlock from the Eastway neighborhood of Baldur's Gate who was raised by the cult of Baphomet from whom Exa derived her otherworldly power. Exa also joined up with the Harpers and has the faction agent background. She begins the adventure with 2 scrolls of Armor of Agathis. Next we have Needle's Eye, a Tabaxi rogue who grew up as a street urchin in Baldur's Gate and who has the criminal background. Needle's Eye worked his way into the lower ranks of the Guild, the ubiquitous organized crime syndicate that operates in Baldur's Gate. Bothered by the stark inequality in the city, Needle's Eye began targeting victims of wealth to funnel the money to those who were in need. He begins the campaign with an uncommon wondrous item called Urg's Pouch, which spits acid at anyone who opens it without saying the password. Next is Miali Zelociant, an elven monk of the Sun Monastery located where the small hamlet of Idleglen used to stand. Miali attained a position in the libraries of Candlekeep to learn more about the fallen angel Zariel after learning about her from the monks of the monastery. She has a cloistered scholar background and begins the adventure with a sun soul circlet that casts pale dim light when in moonlight, and which also allows her to cast protection from evil and good once a day. Jamie Lightward is a human paladin of Torm who grew up revering the Hellriders and who joined them at a young age. She is the niece of Gideon Lightward, who has a strong presence in this adventure. Jamie has a soldier background and begins the campaign with a potion of fire resistance. Finally, we have Korga Goldvein, a dwarf cleric of Helm who grew up in the Cloud Peaks south of Baldur's Gate. Korga's sister lives at the Temple of Torm in El Terrell. He has an acolyte background and worries about his soul as he has turned to vigilante acts to clean up the crooked streets of Baldur's Gate, seeing no other path. Korga begins with holy water, antitoxins, and a potion of healing. As you can see, each of these characters has a story hook that should motivate them in the adventure. The genders of the characters aren't specifically mentioned as they use the pronoun you on the character sheet, and most of the art is intentionally vague on the gender of each character, although Jamie the Paladin is obviously female and Korga the Dwarf Cleric appears to be male. The adventure advises the players to choose a joint dark secret and a Baldur's Gate NPC who knows it. This isn't provided for these characters, so don't forget to develop one using the information in the Gazetteer before you begin the adventure. The Syrinscape code gives you access to 2 sound sets, one for Avernus and one for Baldur's Gate. The Avernus one sets the mood really well if you're aiming for a heavy metal, Mad Max style adventure. The basic hellscape mix includes sulfuric hissing, distant rolling thunder, and subtle, unsettling hums and deep whispers. You can add in some music for that added industrial electric drone that brings to mind some of the best Bear McCreary music from Battlestar Galactica. There's also sound settings for a burning environment and infernal war machine travel. Finally, when a battle breaks out, you can let loose with a full metal concert. The instant sound effects include suspension bumps for your war machine, industrial steam releases, sounds of distant impacts, and a guitar riff for those epic moments. There's also buttons for some soul fuel wails, but those don't appear to be active just yet. The Baldur's Gate soundtrack is much more universal. You'll be able to use it for most any campaign. It includes settings for clear and rainy days and nights in town, with or without music. They include preset sound mixes for different seasons as well, so you're good whether your campaign is set in a windy, wintry time of year or on a genial spring day. The included trigger sound effects include 2 types of thunderclaps, the sound of horses, cows, sheep, and dogs, a passing carriage, and loads of random statements you might hear as you amble down the busy streets. The Lulu plushie is pretty adorable. It honestly looks like a toy that was homemade and not mass-produced. Lulu is a hollyphant, which is a stalwart and gentle creature from the upper planes who values honesty, love, and friendship. They often befriend and assist angels and other good-aligned celestials. In the adventure, Lulu is a companion to the party who is out to reclaim her lost memories. So having her sitting at the table will help ensure that your players remember that they aren't in this alone. Once again, Beadle and Grimm's helps to take material that was already in the adventure and make it more accessible to your players. Our adventure books are always chock full of amazing art that's difficult to share with your players. You can always try to hold the adventure book up and cover any text that your players shouldn't be privy to, but that's always awkward and risky. As they have in all the special editions so far, Beadle and Grimm separates the art out onto these folded pieces of paper that you can place over your DM screen when it's time to share a piece of art with your players. Each one is labeled with the chapter and page number of where it occurs in the adventure, so be sure to check ahead of time to make sure that you have all the art handy for your next session. Encounter cards are another regular inclusion in these sets. They are designed to sit atop your DM screen so you can have all the monster and NPC stats at the ready while your players are able to see the official D&D art of the creatures they're encountering. There don't seem to be any cards in this set that were in prior special edition sets. You'll find 40 cards in this set representing everything from Slobber Chops the Tressum up through Bell, the former Lord of Avernus. This handy page gives you 20 different dialogue options you can use when your players first reach Fort Knucklebone in Chapter 3 and have their first encounter with a bunch of redcap guards who behave pretty similarly to the French guards in Monty Python and the Holy Grail. The quotes here aren't just random insults, but flesh out the encounter that's actually included in the adventure, in which the redcap guards make ridiculous demands of the players if they want to enter the fort. 3 certificates for use in Adventurers League play are also included. The first, Hell Rider's Charge, is given to the players when they begin the Avernus adventure. One or more of the characters is said to descend from one of the original Hell Riders, who followed the devils into hell, where many of them sadly fell in battle. This certificate allows each player to call on the spirits of the Hell Riders to protect them in battle once a day, causing anyone who attacks them that round to do so at disadvantage. The other 2 are presented at the end of the adventure. The first assumes that the players redeemed Zariel and opens up a new subrace as a character option for the player's next character. The Flame Soul Aasimar gains vengeful spellcasting abilities and increased strength. The other certificate assumes that they defeated or killed Zariel. It opens up a new background for players' next characters, Freedom's Lineage, which makes you a future target of devils for your ancestors meddling in infernal affairs, but which also gives you certain tricks and proficiencies to keep you safe and let you gain access to Avernus should you need to go there yourself one day. This little box contains pre-assembled, unpainted resin minis of Beadle and Grimm themselves as developed by Gale Force 9. The back of the box includes a description of Grimm, as told by Beadle, and a description of Beadle, as told by Grimm. Their bases include some stone patterning, which will set them apart somewhat from most of the minis we review on this channel. They're beautifully sculpted though, and will make good character minis once you've painted them up. This arrived in a separate box on the same day we received our Platinum Edition set. It's a set of 30 square cards, mostly representing the magic items your players can discover in the adventure. It includes 12 cards representing every new magic item in the book, with the exception of the Soul Coin and the Infernal Tack, which allows an evil character, typically a Narzugon Devil, to bind with a nightmare. 2 examples of a Hellfire weapon are provided, a Greatsword and a Javelin. 16 cards represent commonly used magical items that appear in this adventure, like a Potion of Fire Breath and Bracers of Defense. Finally, 2 creature cards are included, one for the Abyssal Chicken and one for a Homunculus. All the cards have the same back, and all the information about the item or the creature is on the front, usually including the official Wizards of the Coast art. Space permitting, there is also flavor text from Beadle, Grimm, and other adventurers. The box itself can hold all the material included except the poster maps and the Infernal War Machine. It's roughly the same size as the Platinum Dragon Heist book, and there's also Infernal written on the side here. Skip over the next few seconds if you want to translate it for yourself, otherwise I'll let you know what it reads. Open this box at your peril, lest it drag you into madness. On the back is a sticker listing exactly which numbered box you received, as this was a limited printing of 1,000 copies. Finally, there was one item that wasn't available at the time of this recording, the Infernal Rapture menu from the appendix of the adventure. The one in the book looks like this, and this picture was published on the Beadle and Grimm's website. When we receive our menu, we'll post a picture of it over in our Instagram feed, which you can find in the description below. Let's talk about some of the best qualities of the set, and then some areas where I still have a few suggestions for improvements. The battle maps in particular struck me as really premium quality and very useful. I'm very glad to have a nice poster tube to keep them safe as well. The vinyl stickers allowing you to customize your own Avernus battle maps was a nice and creative addition. I do wish the Baldur's Gate map had been a bit bigger, but the massive number of labels on the original map didn't really lend itself to prominent artistic placement on your wall. Perhaps a larger player's version of the map without the labels and suitable for framing would have been a nice inclusion. There weren't as many in-world documents in this set, which was a little disappointing. Not every adventure lends itself to those, though. The ones that were included were very nicely done, and I really appreciate that some of the documents linked to the included bonus encounters, and some of the encounters linked to each other. That kind of synergy really helps tie the whole package together. One thing that would have been interesting to include is a set of devilish contracts that could be presented to the players during the adventure. One of the appendices spells out how to develop one, but perhaps it's not possible to craft sample documents that would be relevant to every party. The included hardware is, as always, nicely crafted, painted, and feels very heavy and solid in the hand. The Infernal contract is perhaps my favorite piece of hardware they've done. I'm very glad they actually included the gist of the actual contract in Infernal on the piece itself, so the characters can work together to decipher it. The coin is huge and amazing, but I may have preferred having a set of smaller coins that could be handed out during the adventure. I love my plushie Lulu, and I'm a complete sucker for plushies. You should have seen my bedroom growing up. It was a menagerie. I am all for them including more plushies in the future. Like, where's my plushie Flump, or Goblin, or Tressum? And when we spoke to Beadle and Grimm's back at D&D Live in 2019, they mentioned that they wanted to get away from including anything in a platinum box that could be acquired elsewhere, which was why the Nolzur's Marvelous Minis were dropped after the Dragon Heist box. This set does include 2 minis of Beadle and Grimm, but what I would like to see in the future, I think, is the pre-generated characters that they feature in the set as minis. We've already had the character sheets, and we have the art on the DM screen, so that would be a nice inclusion. This set does include the Infernal War Machine, which I'm a bit torn about, no pun intended. It's cool to have a unique version of it, but it's not tremendously different from the one you can buy from WizKids. I know it's probably not feasible for them to develop an entirely different war machine, so this was a nice compromise. If you're running the adventure, you definitely need a war machine for your players. Another suggestion I would still like to see implemented is a sticker or a post-it note type sheet that you could use to annotate the adventure, advising you on when you have art and bonus encounters and hardware or battle maps or in-world documents to share with your party. When you're juggling all that's required in being a game master, it's very likely that you'll pass right by an opportunity to show off a piece of art or toss that encounter card over your DM screen or even have that awesome bonus encounter. Since they can't actually alter the text of the adventure itself, providing these little stickers or post-it notes to apply to the adventure seems like the next best solution. I do appreciate that the contents guide does give you the chapter and page number for each item in the set though. And the art included in the also includes the chapter and page number as well. So it's easy enough to make your own set of stickers. Overall, this is another set of beautiful supplemental material to add an extra layer of tactile fun to your adventure. Like most of the things we cover on this channel, it's not necessary in order to enjoy the adventure. This particular edition is sold out and there aren't likely to be any future printings, but you can probably track down some of this stuff on the aftermarket if you're so inclined. Hopefully our video gives you a good sense of what's included in sets like this, so you can decide if the Beadle and Grimm's packages are right for you and your group. Their next set is a gold edition for Eberron Rising from the Last War. It's scheduled for release in February 2020 for $249. You can learn more about it at the link down in the description below. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what your favorite part of the set is and what you'd like to see in a special edition Eberron box. We'd like to thank Beadle and Grimm for supplying this promo copy of the Platinum Edition of Descent into Avernus for us to share with you. We'd also like to thank our sponsor for this video, the Deck of Many. We're getting very close to the official release of their campaign setting guide, Humblewood, and all of its accompanying material. Humblewood features a new magical forest setting and 10 new playable races based on animals and birds. If you like to bling out your games, Humblewood has quite a few options to choose from. You can buy full color standees to use on your battle maps, or sets of unpainted miniatures that you can use for your player characters, NPCs, and enemies. They have a custom fabric world map and battle maps, tarot-sized reference cards and animated reference cards, plus binders and boxes to hold them. I've been reading over the PDF version of the setting and adventure book for some time now, and I can tell you that it's creative and compelling. If your gaming group enjoys adventures that are a little bit different from your standard hack and slash fantasy fare, I highly recommend picking up a copy of Humblewood. You can learn more about it right now over at humblewood.net. Thanks for watching today. If you enjoyed the video and found it useful, please leave us a like and a comment. Subscribe to get more reviews and early looks at D&D, Pathfinder, and Starfinder minis, supplements, books, and adventures. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you next time with Lulu, maybe at the Gallant Goblin.